Alright, to begin the body, round 1, we are going to make a magic ring, magic loop, Alright, we are going to start off with 5 single crochets into the ring. Slide them over, pull tight. Alright, so just to warn you, it's gonna get almost a little repetitive for 18 rounds. We're gonna increase every single round. So, alright, slip stitch into your first stitch. Chain 1. Alright, for round 2, two single crochets in each stitch. Last 2. And that brings our total of 10 single crochets for that round. Round 3, we're going to put 1 single in the first stitch, 2 in the next, and that's what we're going to repeat. 1 and then 2, so 1 single, and then 2 single crochets in the next. 1, and then 2 in the next. 1 in the next, and then 2 in the next. Alright, 1, and then 2 in the last stitch. Slip stitch, chain 1. For round 3, you should have 15. Alright, round 4, it's going to be 1, 1, and then 2. 1, 1, and then 2 in the next. 1 in the next. 1. I think I messed up. Sorry about that. Alright, let's just start that over. Alright, 1. So sorry, everyone. 1 in your first stitch, 1 single in your next stitch, and then 2 in the next. That's what we're going to repeat. 1 in the next, 1 in the next, and then 2. 1, 1, and 2. Okay, last time. 1, 1, and 2. Slip stitch, chain 1. All right, so round 4, you should have 20 single crochets. Round 5, it's going to be 1, 1, 1, and then 2. From now on, I am going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 when it's an increase, or I might just say increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. We got to go all the way up to 16 and an increase. So I don't want anyone getting confused. All right, so 1, 2, 3 singles and an increase. So that's 2. And that's what we're going to repeat on this round. 1 single, 1 single, 1 single, and an increase. So that's 2. 1, 2, 3 singles, and an increase. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3 singles, and an increase. Last time, 1, 2, 3, and an increase. Slip stitch, chain 1. All right, so round 5, you should have 25 single crochets. Round 6, 4 singles and an increase. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now an increase in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4 singles. Now an increase in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4 singles and an increase. Again, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and an increase. Last time, 1, 2, 3, and 4, increase in the last. All right, now you should have 30 single crochets. Round 7 is 5 singles and an increase. So 5 single crochets, that's 2, 3, 4, and 5, and an increase in the next. I'm going to do it one more time with you, and then I will film the next row. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. All right, meet you at row 8. For row 7, you should have 35 stitches. All right, round 8 is going to be 6 single crochets and an increase. So 6 and then an increase. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then an increase. That is what you're going to repeat for row 8, 6, and an increase. Increase. All right, continue on, and at the end of row 8 you should have 40 stitches, 40 single crochets, and I'll meet you for 9. All right, I'm just finished row 8. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1 at the end of each row. All right, round 9, 7 singles and an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and an increase. And one more time. 7 singles, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and an increase. All right, at the end of round 9, you should have 45 stitches. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1. All right, round 10 is 8 single crochets and an increase. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, increase. All right, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 with an increase. All right, so that is what you're going to do this round. And at the end of round 10, you should have 50 single crochets. All right. Round 11 is going to be 9 singles and an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and an increase. All right, once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and an increase. All right, so at the end of 11, you should have 55 single crochets. All right, round 12 is 10 single crochets and an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, increase. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, increase. All right, if you notice, it might be poking up some. If you kind of stretch it out a tiny bit, it will lay a little flatter. But this is technically, it's going to go on the bottom. So it won't be a problem. All right. At the end of round 12, you should have 60 single crochets. All right, round 13, 11 singles and an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, increase. Okay, once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and an increase. All right, that's what you're going to do this round. Round 13, you should have 65 single crochets. All right, round 14 is 12 singles and an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and an increase. All right, once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase. All right, and so for round 14, you'll have 70 single crochets. All right, round 15 is 13 single crochets and an increase. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, an increase. Once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and an increase. All right, so for round 15, you are going to have 75 single crochets. All right, round 16 is 14 singles and an increase. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Increase. Once more. 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Increase. All right, at the end of round 16, you should have 80 single crochets. Round 17, 15 single crochets and an increase. We are almost done with the increase rounds. This round and one more to go. All right, so round 17 is 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, increase. All right, once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, increase. All right, at the end of 17, you shall have 85 single crochets. 18, it is our last increase round. All right, 16 single crochets and an increase. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase. All right, once more. 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 with an increase. All right, at the end of round 18, you should have 90 single crochets. All right, round 19. All right, so round 19 is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. I will do part of it with you. So you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch. Just like that, all the way around. When you get to the end, remember to slip stitch and chain up 1, and you should still have 90 stitches at the end of 19. All right, round 20 is, we are going to put 1 single crochet in the back loop. So if you look at your stitches here, the back loop is the one back here. And you only single crochet into that one. And we're going to do that all the way around. Put one single crochet in the back loop only. And then when we go to stuff this, it'll make that curve upward, because we are going to pull that middle in a little to where it will set like this, and this will curve upward like that. So go ahead and continue putting one single crochet in the back loop only for around 20. You should still have 90 stitches or 90 single crochets for round 20 at the end. And don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1. And I will meet you on row 21. All right, round 21 through 30 is going to be one single crochet in each stitch around for those rows. So I'm just going to put one single crochet in each stitch for rounds 21 through 30. At the end of each row, make sure you slip stitch and chain 1. I just like to remind y'all so y'all don't forget. My notebook was falling, sorry. And then at the end of each row, you should still have 90 for your stitch count. So, all right, I will meet you back at round 31 for our first decrease round. All right, so I made it to round 31. I finished rounds 21 through 30, and this is what it's looking like. Now, if this is sticking up too weird, what you want to do is stretch the bottom and then kind of stretch it out a little to where it will kind of curve up slightly and that the bottom will kind of pucker inward a little. All right, so this is what it should look like so far. All right, so round 31. This is our first decrease round. All right, so we're going to kind of reverse where we left off increasing. So what we're going to do is, for round 31, is 16 single crochets, 1 in each stitch, and then a decrease. So we're going to work our way back down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now we're going to do a decrease, and that's an invisible decrease. And that's what you're going to repeat around. So once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and a decrease. All right, so continue doing the decrease for this round, 16 single crochets and then a decrease. At the end of round 31, you should have 85 stitches. All right, rounds 32, 33, and 34 is going to be one single crochet in each stitch around. So at the end of each of those rows, slip stitch and chain 1, you should still have 85 stitches. All right, I'll see you on round 35. Round 35 is going to be one single crochet over 15 stitches and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Then a decrease. All right, once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease. All right, so that's what you're going to repeat this round. At the end of round 35, you'll have 80 stitches. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1. All right, round 36 is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch around. All right, so at the end of round 36, you should still have 80. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1 at the end, and I will see you for round 37. Round 37 is a decrease round. We are going to do 14 single crochets and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. All right, a decrease. All right, once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Now a decrease. All right, so repeat that the remainder of this round, and I will meet you back for rounds 38. At the end of 37, you should have 75 stitches. All right, so rounds 38 and 39 is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch, and it will be a total of 75 stitches for each round. So just put 1 single crochet in each stitch for rounds 38 and 39. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1. And I will meet you back on round 40. Round 40, it is going to be 13 single crochets and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Now a decrease. I'll do it one more time with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and a decrease. All right, so you should do that 3 more times, I believe. At the end of the round, make sure you slip stitch and chain 1, and you should have 70 stitches or 70 single crochets. I will meet you for round 41. Round 41 is 1 single crochet in each stitch. Just like that. And at the end of round 41, you should still have 70. And I'll meet you for round 42. All right, round 42 is going to be 12 single crochets and a decrease. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Decrease. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and a decrease. All right, so repeat that 3 more times, and at the end of round 42, you should have 65 single crochets, and don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1. And I will meet you back for round 43. All right, rounds 43 and 44 is going to be one single crochet in each stitch. And at the end of round 43 and 44, you should have a total of 65 single crochets. So just one single in each stitch for rounds 43 and 44. At the end of each round, make sure you slip stitch and chain one. All right, and I will meet you back for round 45. Round 45, we're going to do 11 single crochets and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Decrease. Once more. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Decrease. All right, so repeat that 3 more times. Now you should have a total of 60 single crochets at the end of 45. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1, and I'll meet you for 46. Round 46 is one single crochet in each stitch. At the end of round 46, you should still have 60 single crochets. Okay, so I will meet you for round 47. Round 47 is going to be 10 single crochets and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now a decrease. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now a decrease. All right, so repeat that 3 more times, and at the end of 47, you will have 55 single crochets. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1 at the end, and I will see you for round 48. Rounds 48 and 49 is 1 single crochet in each stitch. All right, so continue putting 1 single crochet in each stitch for rounds 48 and 49. At the end of each one, you should have 55 single crochets, and I will meet you back for round 50. Round 50 is 9 singles and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now a decrease. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Decrease. All right, so you're going to repeat that 3 more times. At the end of round 50, you should have 50 single crochets, 50 on 50. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1 at the end, and I will see you back for 51. Round 51 is 1 single crochet in each stitch. All right, so continue, and at the end of round 51, you should still have 50 single crochets. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1, and I will see you for round 52. Round 52 is 1 single crochet in 8 stitches. 8 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now a decrease. Once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now a decrease. Okay, so do that 3 more times, and at the end of 52 you'll have 45 single crochets. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1 at the end, and I will see you for round 53. .53 and 54 are going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So just like that, and at the end of 53 and 54 you should still have 45 single crochets. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1, and I will see you for 55, which is the last decrease round of the body, and then we work on the neck and head. Round 55. It is our last decrease round of the body. All right, and we are going to do 7 single crochets and then a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now a decrease. Okay, I'll do it one more time with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, decrease. All right, repeat that 3 more times, and at the end of round 55 you should have 40 single crochets. All right, rounds 56 and 57 is 1 single crochet in each stitch. So just like that, 1 single in each stitch around for 56 and 57. At the end of each round, you should have 40 single crochets still. And I will meet you back at the end of 57. We will stuff the body. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. Now, shove your hand in and try to stretch the bottom out a little, and we're just gonna stuff it as much as we can because we have a huge area to fill. And I'm just taking handfuls and shoving it in, but do not overstuff. But you want it kind of firm. And then push it, put your hand in and push down on the stuffing. And if you have to, kind of push in and spread it to the sides. Kind of like that. So just continue stuffing it. Don't stuff it all the way. Maybe the last 2 rows, 3 rows, stop about there. And then we will work on the neck. All right. Round 58 is a complete decrease round. So that means there are 40 stitches, should be 20 decreases. All right. There's 1 decrease. 2. 'That one's a little loose. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All right, slip stitch, chain 1. So you should have 20 stitches. Round 59 is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Slip stitch, chain 1. Round 60, we are going to increase in each stitch for the head. So you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch. That will increase our stitch count back to 40. All right, slip stitch in this first stitch. It's going to be kind of tight. Chain 1. Now you should have 40 stitches. All right, so round 61 is 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Still gonna be 40. All right, so just make sure you get every stitch. They are packed in here. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. Perfect. All right, slip stitch, chain 1. 62 is going to be an increase round. It is going to be 7 single crochets, then an increase. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now an increase. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Increase. All right, keep repeating 7 single crochets and an increase, and I will meet you back for round 63. All right, at the end of 62, you should have 45 single crochets. All right, 63 is another increase round. It is 8 single crochets and then an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now an increase. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and an increase. All right, so repeat that 3 more times, and you should have 50 single crochets at the end of 63. "64 is 1 single crochet in each stitch around. All right, so if it happens to be curling, it'll be fine. It will eventually start to go upward. All right, so continue your single crochets, and at the end of round 64, you should still have 50, and I'll meet you back for 65. All right, round 65 is 9 single crochets and then an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now an increase. Okay, once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now an increase. All right, so repeat that 3 more times. You should have 55 single crochets after you finish 65. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1, and I'll meet you for 66. All right, round 66 is an increase round again. We are going to do 10 single crochets and then an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now an increase. All right, once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Increase. All right, so do that 3 more times, and you should have 60 stitches at the end of 66, and I will meet you back for 67. Round 67, we are going to change up, but it's going to be an increase round. All right, so we want a greater increase, and I believe you have to do this 10 times total for this round, but we are going to put 5 single crochets and then an increase. I think you have to do it 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. This is going to take our stitch count from 60 to 70. And I believe this is our last increase round for the head. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. 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 Should be the last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. All right, slip stitch, chain 1. Alrighty, now for rounds 68 through 77, we're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch. I will come back for 77 because you have to place stitch markers where you're going to put the eyes. I like to place stitch markers in the stitch where the eye will go and then insert the eyes after I get about 2 or 3 rounds done. So I will be back to do round 77. I will do just a few stitches for 68 just so you can see. Now you should have 70 single crochets per each one of those rounds. So just put 1 single in each stitch for rounds 68 through 77, but technically 68 through 76, and I'll be back for 77. So let's just say that, round 68 through 76. And don't forget to slip stitch at the end of each row, chain 1. All right, I will see you at 77. All right, round 77, you will need 2 stitch markers for this round. We are going to mark the stitches for the eyes. Now, other than it being just 1 single crochet in each stitch, we're going to mark the eyes. That's the only difference. All right, so we first want to mark stitch number 28, so we got to count from the join here, stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Now what you're going to do, you're not going to put it in the actual stitch here. You're going to go in the bottom part of it. So right through there. Because if you put the safety eye in now, how are you going to put a stitch on the next row? So this is what I like to do. I like to mark where the eye goes and then after I get a couple of rounds, then put the eyes in. All right. Now we're going to go to 37 and put the next stitch in. So that was 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. And do the same thing, just put it in through the bottom. And at least that's where your front of your face will be compared to where the join is in the back. It'll be on the back side of the round. All right, so just continue putting one single crochet in each stitch until the end, and then rounds 78 and 79 is one single crochet in each stitch. So each round will have 70 stitches. Make sure you slip stitch and chain one at the end, and I will meet you at the end of round 79 to insert the eyes. All right, so I have finished round 79. So we're going to take our eyes and put them right in the stitch where we marked. See, and doing those extra rows, you'd be able to easily crochet after putting them in. So before you put the back on, hold your eye in place and then take the stitch marker out and then put the back on. Okay, now the next one. And then put there we go. All right, now it's got eyes. All right, so now we are going to start decreasing. Round 80, we're going to do 5 single crochets and a decrease. And I believe you'll have to do it 10 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease. Yeah, because these 2 stitches with the 5 make 7, and there's 70 stitches right now, so you will have to do this a total of 10 times for the row. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease. I'll do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 5 and a decrease. So that's what you want to repeat all the way around on this, on row 80. At the end you should have 60 stitches, and don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1 at the end, and I'll meet you for round 81. Round 81, we are going to do 4 single crochets and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease, 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease, 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease, 1 more, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's getting so heavy. Sorry if I went off camera. And a decrease. Alright, so continue 4 single crochets and then a decrease. At the end of round 81, you should have 50 single crochets. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1, and I'll meet you back for 82. Round 82 is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. Once more. 1, 2, 3, decrease. All right, so continue the 3 single crochets and a decrease. At the end of round 82, you should have 40 single crochets, and don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1, and I will meet you back for 83. Round 83, we are going to do 2 singles and a decrease. So, and then after that, we are going to stuff the head. So 1, 2, and a decrease. 1, 2 singles, and then a decrease. Split it. There. Once more, 2 singles, and then a decrease. And you keep doing this all the way around, and at the end of 83 you should have 30 single crochets. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1, and I will meet you for 84, but we'll stuff the head first. Alright, so we are going to stuff the head. Now, if you can, try to get in the neck a little, but not too much. Kind of fill out this area if you hadn't yet. Okay. And just kind of fill it out to where it's kind of firm, but not pushing the stitches out, you know, like stretching them. And if you can, kind of push all the stuffing outward, that helps. And then you just fill the middle. That helps sometimes. At least that's what I do. I don't know about everybody else. Okay. I think that is good for now. Once I get a few more rows done, I can maneuver it and roll it if I need to. All right, so let's continue. All right, round 84 is 1 single and a decrease. So 1 single crochet and then a decrease all the way around. 1 single and then a decrease. This is very hard to do because of the stuffing. I can barely see what I'm doing. One single and a decrease. All right, so continue that for round 84, and you should have 20 single crochets. Don't forget to slip stitch and chain 1, and I'll meet you for 85. All right, round 85 is a total decrease round. So decrease all the way around. So go back in your first stitch. One decrease. Try to keep these as tight as you can so the stuffing don't show through and it pulls it tighter. Okay, one more. All right, now we're going to slip stitch. You can find your first one, which is, I think that was the chain, so right here. I got some of the stuffing. All right, so we have one more round. If you need to add stuffing, I really don't think I need to add any to mine. Mine is a little too stuffed. But the stitching don't look too bad. You can't see much of the stuffing. I tried to keep it as tight as I could on camera, crocheting it at a weird angle. But one last row. I am going to do this last decrease round. It's a total decrease round, a slightly different. I am not going to be doing the invisible decrease for this one. I am going to be doing a regular decrease where you draw up the loops. It's just too hard to, you go in the front stitch, and draw up the loop, go in the next one, draw up a loop, and close it. It's just a little tiny bit easier to do it this way on this last round. You don't have to try to stretch the stitches very much. All right. Now, we are not going to... Yes, actually, what we're going to do is we are not going to... We're going to chain 1 to fasten it off. And we're going to pull quite a big tail and snip. All right, pull your end through. Now, thread the darning needle. And we're going to go through the front loops. So here's the first stitch. The second. Third. Fourth. And the last. So there should be 5. And then we are going to pull it closed. And what you're going to want to do is whatever direction this is facing, so it take your tail and go in that direction so it holds it down flat. Like that. And just kind of weave in, going with your stitch direction. So if you can find, which I think I went through a middle of a stitch, so I'm just going to go here to over here. Don't pull too tight. And then I can see the single crochet there. So I'm going to go in. That pulled it a little tight, so. And then go there. That should be good enough. Now this one we are going to pull to where it indents, but put the darning needle back under it. Snip it and then pull it upward. And then now we can kind of reshape the stuffing in it. And there we go. The body is done. Now on to assembly. All right, so we are going to start the assembly process. We are going to start with the back legs. So what you're going to want to do is stand the cat up, kind of line up where you want the back legs so it sets evenly like that. Do your best to try to pin it in place, either with stitch markers, but also you want to flatten this out a little. So kind of smush down, or if it's too rounded, it'll be hard to sew on. We want it kind of flatter. So kind of just get them positioned in place, you know, flatten them out, and then we're going to get a really long tail. because what we're going to do is we are going to sew from the inside around. So kind of around this area to the body. So I'm going to do my best to lay it flat and sew it on. It is a very big animal, and so it's very hard to position, but I will try my best. All right, so I would guess maybe about 2 feet of string. I'm guessing, I really don't know. I just get a lot. So for one, and we're gonna snip it. That's hard to do one-handed. And thread your darning needle. I'm gonna pin these in place and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have this one pinned in the back and the top, but the bottom of it is still loose. So what you're going to want to do is, when it's flat, kind of try to start down here, but where it would be under where it would hide. But you're going to want a tail left at the end to weave in after you get done sewing it. So at least long enough so you can weave it in. All right, so that's the length, you know, or a little. So just do your best to go around. You go through the body and then into the leg and then come out. And then backtrack a little bit, go back into the leg and out. Then again, you go into the body, backtrack a tiny bit, go into the leg and back out. Pull tight. And if you notice that the stuffing is indenting, what you can do is put your needle in and stick it, you know, pull it upward so it helps fluff it back up. All right, and then backtrack a tiny bit through the body and then the leg. Come out the leg. Pull tight. And you just kind of do this all the way around until you get back to the beginning. Take that out. Go back in the body, into the leg. Back out the leg. See, you don't really see much stitching there, so it helps hide it a little. All right. Continue on. in through the body, into the leg, out the leg. Laying on my string. Okay, this is gonna be a weird angle. I don't think I'll be able to show as much. Maybe I stand it up. No, that's not gonna work. Alright, I'm gonna do my best to try to show it on camera, but it's technically the same thing we've been doing, going through the body, but it's under the leg. Could do that. I think that shows it okay. Okay, we are actually back where we started. So, now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one and go into the leg, out through, and try to go with your stitching and just go through the leg a little bit. Don't pull too tight. Work it back down to the body. And back through the leg. Okay. Now I'm just going to hide the tail a couple of times through the stuffing. Don't pull too tight. All right. Now to hide this one, we're just going to do a couple of stitches into the body. And grab some of that stuffing. And see it. There it is. And it's sitting up straight. Now, to do the other one, I am not going to do the other one on camera, but that gives you somewhat of an idea. So, good luck with the second leg, and I will meet you back to do the arms, the front legs. All right, so for the front legs, you want to measure, not with the tape measure, but set the cat up to where the paws are barely touching the ground, like just flat, and pin them in place. Try to keep whatever row you pin it, try to get it even with the other one. I think I'm a little off. I think I'm one row off on this one, so I'll probably move this one up a little. But so we are going to sew the arms on and then the shoulder pieces. All right, so we're going to thread the darning needle, and I might just go ahead and do it like that. All right, that's where I want it to go. So take and go through whatever row you are sewing it to. Just try to keep it even. It won't matter about gaps. That's where the shoulder piece will go. Okay. I think I sewed onto that stitch marker. Dang. All right, be careful because you might sew around the stitch markers. All right, so continue. Now, if you need to, you can go back a... Whoa, that stitch is a little bit too big right there. If you do want to, you can go back again. I'm not going to because I'll be sewing on top of that with the shoulder piece. I'm going to go in this way, I think. Get this corner. Okay. Okay. Now the next one, but you can kind of see how it's going to end up setting. It'll be right, you can kind of maneuver the leg a little bit. All right, so we're going to do the next one. That's a... Move this one first. Remove it, not move it, just remove it completely. Line up. I have a shorter tail on this one. I hope it'll go across. All right, now to snip the tail. Okay. So, next is the shoulder pieces. All right, now the shoulder pieces, when we made those and I said keep note of which side you hide your tail on from the foundation chain, this is my right shoulder piece, and so it will go over the leg like this and slant this way. See how it goes like that? We are going to sew down this way across the leg up and then stuff some stuffing in it and then finish sewing it. If you want to, you can pin it in place, but I am just going to start sewing. Now you want this edge over where here we sewed the arm on. You want it to go at least one row past before you start sewing. And I would not recommend pulling this too tight so you don't get the gaps. Just kind of go close to your stitches. Close as you can, anyway. Now, once you get to where the leg is, you'll have to go through the leg and the shoulder piece. Might be a little tough to get through, but it will go. Try to go through the body, through the leg, and the shoulder piece if you're able. Keep coming out too far past where I want to go. There. All right, now we're going to sew across the leg. Such a weird angle. So on this part, I am going back a little bit before where I just came out and going past where it came out. Hope that makes sense. And if you find that it does not meet, stretch it before you get too far and make sure it's flush with the arm on that side. Or just sew it on the best that you can. What makes amigurumi special is it's not perfect. Only a machine can make it perfect. And we are not machines. We are human. We all make mistakes. And amigurumi does not have to be perfect. Although we strive to make it uniform and, you know, even, but sometimes it don't come out that way. So, and I would not worry one bit. And even though I tried to get my back legs even, one's still a little higher than the other, to be honest. So it's even me. It's not perfect. Okay, now we're going to just sew up the side here and stop at the top of it. It also wants to slide around. Cat wants to go sliding around. All right, almost. And then we're going to stuff the shoulder piece. Get right up here to the top. You don't want to overstuff, but you do want it to be filled out a little bit. So start with a tiny bit first and put it as far down, but don't make it too obvious. You want it to try to be flush with the leg. Even though there is a crease there, it'll still feel. There's a gnat in here. All right, a little more at the top here. I think that'll be good enough. All right, now close it up. Head's in the way. Get in there. Okay. I think all the stitches around have been done. All right, so now we're just going to weave it in and go through the body once or twice. All right. Now, the next one should slant in the opposite direction. So that's what it looks like after you get it sewn on. That's the little shoulder piece. Now, if you think there's too much stuffing in one spot, you could take your needle and kind of try to move the stuffing around, rub it to kind of smooth it out. All right, now snip that tail. All right, so you're technically going to do the same thing on this side. Line it up with the leg, but this time you'll be sewing in the opposite direction. You're going to be going this way, through the leg, around, stopping here, stuff it, and then finish sewing up and hide your tail. All right, I will meet you back for, we'll do the tail next. All right, now we're going to sew on the tail. So I designed this tail with the bend in it to go like this or like this. Whichever side you want it to go on, it's going to go. You look for this line where we did the back loop only on the body, and you're going to sew it to about the middle of the back, which is about there, so the tail will curve and sit on the leg. All right, so try to line it up about the middle of there, and we're just gonna sew it on. That looks about good. Hopefully y'all can see that okay. And just kind of go through each stitch. If you happen to miss one, you can backtrack. I don't think I did, but it looks a little. And do like that. And then to do the inside, if you need to, just kind of lift up the tail, but every once in a while push it back to make sure it's still gonna be flat. Okay, tail is on. Let's go back through and then go through the body. Weave it in a few times. All right, tail is on. Next, we will do the ears. All right, so sewing the ears on, you might want to pin them in place, but you want to kind of fold them and curve them so they will be sewn on like this. Now I'm going to try to evenly space them out where it lines up with the eye for the inside part here. So it'll go on like this about the middle of the head, where right here for the middle. So, all right. I'm going to be starting on this outer side, and I'm going to adjust it as I go. And you want to go in through the head and out through the head under the ear. And then you're going to go through the ear. Like that. So, through the head, out the head. Oh, it wrapped around the leg. And then through the ear. All the way until about the middle. All right. And now we're going to start. That's about the middle. And now we're going to start curving it. That way. Okay. I think that's actually pretty good. Now, I just wanted to show you something in case you did not know. If you see any gaps where you can see stuffing, what you could do is try not to grab the stuffing with these tails, and you can just kind of go in and out loosely. Do not pull tight. Kind of like that. And it might help, you know, kind of hide some of the gaps, fill them, while also weaving in your ends. And kind of go back where you just... Okay, I apologize. My phone storage ran out and it stopped me dead in the middle. Okay, so all I was saying was the tail from this ear, you can weave in any of the gaps. You go in and then out, you know, back in the same direction. I'll show you when we do the other ear, but see how it filled in some of the gaps right there? You don't see the stuffing as much. And it also helps it make it look like a stitch. So that's what it looks like. And you can kind of move it around, and there we go. All right, let's do the next ear. All right, so the next ear is going to be very, very similar. But we're going to be starting from the inside instead of the outside. So what you're going to want to do is line these up pretty even. Make sure it's lined up with the eye. Now this one is offset a little, so let's try to get it about as offset so it's kind of even. But if it's not, it's all right. So go in and under. And then through the ear. I think I have a shorter tail on this one also. Whoops. All right, that is about the middle. So now we look at it and try to curve it about the same. You can also look, it's on what row it's on to kind of even stop it. I think that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take stitch marker and just kind of pin it. I'm not going to close it. I'm just going to pin it there. So then when you're looking at it, you can kind of, you know. All right. Okay. Go back in. Okay. Both ears are on. Now I'm going to show you again with a separate piece of string, because the video had cut off, just to re-show, because it might have not shown. So when I talked about going in and out, go in a stitch like this, and then kind of go back in again, but in a different direction, so it kind of makes it look like a stitch. And that will help kind of fill those gaps a little bit. Kind of like that. But I'm going to try to rethread and go back in to hide the tail. Well, that's good enough, I guess. All right, so next is the mouthpiece, but first I think we are gonna try to do whiskers. All right, so if you want, you can use pipe cleaners or the bead wire. Now, if you are using it for yourself, I mean, if you're making the cat for yourself, I would suggest using this if you want, or you can do the pipe cleaners. I will probably try to show you both, but I think I might go with the pipe cleaners this time for this one. Now, you can do many of them, or just 2 or 4 or whatever. So fold them in half like this. And what you're going to do before we sew it on, you want to try and get it into 2 different stitches. So this curve piece will end up on a stitch with a stitch in between, if you get what I mean. So spread okay, so wherever you go in, try to go in a stitch beside it. If you want, you can put a dab of glue in this crease before you pull it through. And then if you want, kind of just, I'm probably going to make mine about that long. I really don't know yet. I'm going to do another one. on that side. A little below it maybe, or yeah, below it. Ah, it caught some of the yarn. There we go. Now you could make these different lengths, or however long you want them. Okay. Now if you're going to do the bead wire, alright, so just take however much in length and what we're going to do, we're kind of going to do the same thing. Make a crease in the middle. And you're going to want to run it through 2 different stitches. Alright, and now what you're going to do is you're going to tie it in a couple of knots. I'm going to do it loose because I'm doing the pipe cleaners. I'm only going to tie 1 knot, but I would tie 2. And then what you're going to want to do is bend it to where they kind of go the same direction. And then you would, it's going to hold better if you get a couple of knots in there, but and then bend it and kind of work with it to try to get them going the same, and they can be, it's going to take a little bit to get them, but that's what I did with the other one, and I kept having to bend, and they're very short, they're not that long either, they're about like this. They're about like that. And I think I did 2 pieces of wire, I believe, on each side. Alright, so that is what I'm going to do for the whiskers. on this side with the pipe cleaners, and then I will show you how to sew it to the face. Alright, so I got both sets of whiskers in. I have not cut them yet, but I want to embroider the mouth. I am also using Premier Basic Worsted. This is in the color Pumpkin. When I originally picked out these colors, I was not sure which one would be more like her color. This is more like her darker cinnamon type markings. This is more like her lighter color, but I went with this one because she has a lot of that color in her. Alright, so what you want to do is go right under where the nose is. Now, you want to go where this is. Close as the nose to where you can get. I should have done this before we put the nose in. I didn't think about it. Alright. Too many tails here. And we're just going to embroider a little line downward. And go back in through the middle. Make a little straight. And come out through. I'm going to try to split the yarn here so we go through it. Try to hold it still while you do that. But I want it to kind of curve to look like a little smile. And then back in the other side and through. You see? Kind of looks almost like a little smile. Alright, snip the yarn tails. Don't get the one that you're supposed to sew it on with. And just shove it inside. We're going to add stuffing to this anyway. Alright, now, kind of looks like rabbit. Being so long. If you are using the pipe cleaners, try to cut them, you know, if you want to, one length to a little longer, or you can do all the same. I think whatever you do, make sure they're kind of even. I think I'm going to do like that. I use my finger to measure sometimes, so. That's so cute. I hadn't used pipe cleaners for Whiskers yet. That is adorable. All right, so let's sew this on, and we only have a few more things to do. All right, so we are going to take the cat and line up the mouth right where the point here is, kind of directly in between the eyes. It's almost about 3 stitches from when you count under where the edge will be. All right, so we are going to sew this on similar to how we've been sewing the parts on. Just kind of wrapping it from the body to the next stitch. Ah. I might have to move the whiskers out of the way. We will add some stuffing about halfway through. I cut my fingernail when I was cutting the whiskers and it just hung on the yarn. I didn't realize it. Okay. Once we get about to the point, we will lift it up and put some stuffing in, which I'm almost there. We want to fill out the mouth as much as we can. And after we get the mouth sewn on, we will embroider surface single crochets over the eyes. And might even define the ridge just a little more. Actually, I'm going to stop and I'm going to put stuffing in before we get, because it's starting to get a little wonky. Okay. I skipped a stitch on purpose to help try to keep that point where I want it. Ah, wrapped around its ear. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to go back and fix that ridge a little. Okay, I'm going to start trying to fill out before it gets too small. I want to fill out the mouth just a little. Then when I get it closed a little more, I'm going to fill out where I'm sewing. Okay, now completely close. Now go back in. up to the nose if you're able. Might have to work your way up there. The ridge, I mean. All right. Now, you can see, pinch that ridge a little to where you can see it kind of poke out. Go underneath. And we are just going to kind of weave in and out, pinching it. That'll hopefully kind of give it a ridge. More defined ridge. Pinch it as you move down. I swear sometimes these tails drive me insane. They wrap around stuff. And just do this all the way down to the nose. Okay. There's the little nose ridge. It's a little crooked, but there it is. All right, now weave in your tail. And try to come out the bottom somewhere. There we go. All right, now for the ridges over the eyes, what we are going to take the same color that we did the mouth in. And we are going to do a slip knot. Make sure you leave a little bit of a tail so you can hide this in with your darning needle. So, about like that. Make a slip knot. All right, and you're going to take your crochet hook, right at where the ridge starts up here. You're going to go through by the ridge or beside the ridge, and you're going to, all right, so I slip stitched by the nose here, and I was trying to do slip stitches. I did surface single crochet. All right, so after you slip stitch, pull it through. and do, after you get 2, do a single, and then just kind of work your way upward. Up and over the eye. And then once you get a little past the eye, we're going to start trying to curve the other way on top of the eye. Okay. I think that's good. I am going to slip stitch somewhere. Whoops. Some of the stuffing. Crap. Yeah, don't keep pulling. Ah. All right. All right, make sure you leave long enough of a tail to sew in. Pull that slip stitch tight and indent the eye a little, and it looks like a little eyebrow almost. All right. So we are going to hide the tails. Not as good as I would have liked, but sometimes that happens. Okay, now I am not going through the side. I'm going to go back in that same stitch and just keep grabbing more of the stuffing and coming back in and out. That'll help hold some of that end in there. And then about 3 times is good. Okay, now for the one on the nose. go in. Okay, there we go. Now, next side. Try to go back where even on the other side. There. Okay, so slip stitch. And start doing the single crochets. I did not keep count of how many are on the other side. I just did them. All right, my phone ran out of storage again. So, I finished this eyebrow. Now I am going to weave in this tail. And weave in this one. Only thing left we have to do is make a collar. So I actually have a collar I am going to use, a spare one of my cat's canella. I like to keep a reflective collar on her, and I have some that are not reflective, so I am going to be using one of those. But I will show you how to crochet one. All right, ridges are done. Now, for the collar, I usually have a pink collar on her, but I am going to take 2 strands of, it's 2 strands of some hot pink, and I'm gonna leave about a tail long enough to tie to the back. All right, so we're gonna do a slip knot. And we're just gonna chain until it fits around the neck. Okay, I don't think that's long enough, but I'm gonna keep going. All right, and then just put it around the neck and see, actually, that's too long. So I'm gonna take a couple of chains out and then re-put it around the neck. That's pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one last and snug it down. I'm going to pull the end out. I'm going to wrap it around. Now, if you wanted to, in the very middle, you can sew like a little in the very middle. What you could do is you could sew a little charm there or make a little tag or whatever, but you're going to put it around the cat's neck and then just tie it on. And if you wanted to, you could put it in a little bow like that. And then you could still get it off if you wanted to. So let's have a look at the finished cat. All right. And then there's the collar. And the cat is done. If you do make one of these, you can post it in my Facebook group. The link is in the description box to my Facebook group. Or if you'd rather send me an email with the picture, you can do that too. And thank you all so much for watching. Sorry about any noises in the backgrounds or bumping the camera. This was a very big amigurumi, and it was very hard to do on camera. Let me measure it, and I can tell you how tall it is. All right. I just measured it from where it sets all the way to the tip of the ear was 17 inches. So that is a big cat. It's bigger than my cat. Alrighty, everyone. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Take care, stay safe, and I will see y'all later. Thank you so much for watching the tutorial. Bye for now, y'all.